Welcome to this free immigration help channel. Today is April 15, 2023, and we are getting into the volume 63 of me answering your immigration related questions. As you can see, I have all your comments pulled up here. Before I begin, I'm going to mention I am not an immigration attorney. This is not a legal advice. All the information that I provide in these videos on this channel are directly from official government sources like USCIS and, of course, Department of State with their most recent visa bulletin from May 2023 that came out just like 1 or 2 days ago. Also, I'm going to mention I'm most likely not going to be able to be live during this premiere. As you're watching it, I'm probably not going to be in the chat room. I'm very sorry about that. If you have any questions, just post them in the comments below and I will address them in the further volumes. So let's start with the very first question, comment from Gurjinder Dolt. I'm very sorry if I'm mispronouncing the names. Hi, please tell me about F4 category. Petition submitted September 2012. How long? Please reply. From India. Gurjinder, thank you very much for your question. So F4 priority category, it's the first priority category that takes the longest, unfortunately, for the immigrant visa to be available. It's the brothers and sisters of US citizens. So we're gonna go to the visa bulletin, May 2023. We actually seen some movement. We know the priority date, which is in 2012, September 2012. So let's take a look. We're looking at the graph B, which is dates of filing. Dates of filing is the priority date, basically when USCIS have received your I-130 petition, all right? So your notice of receipt, NOR, is dated back in September 2012. That is the priority date. And that is what the graph B is showing us. So right now, as of May 2023, the immigrant visas are becoming available who have filed back in February 2008, which is roughly about 4 years. All right, let's just do by year because my math is absolutely horrible. 2008 and you have filed in 2012, so there's about 4 years. So a very rough estimate, about 4 more years till the availability of your immigrant visa. Again, I say it is very, very rough estimate. Why? Because things can speed up, things can slow down. That is why we have visa bulletin. That is why anyone who's watching this video, anyone who has a family petition that is, I-130, petition for alien relative pending, they need to be familiar with the visa bulletin. They need to check on it regularly because it answers the question for us how long approximately we need to wait. So right now, as of right now, about 4 more years. But actually, you know what? You said that you are from India, if I'm correct. Yes, you're from India. So India has, as you can see, a separate chargeability area. So 2008 is actually for all chargeability areas, and India is actually February 2006. So you have 6 more years, not 4 more years. Very sorry about that. But yes, there are 4 countries that have their own separate chargeability area: China, India, Mexico, and Philippines. Because the immigration numbers are heavier from those countries, they have a little bit more in some cases. As you can see, China, for example, in this case is the same exact as the all chargeability. But for India, it's 2 extra years. Again, it's a very rough estimate because things might speed up, and hopefully they will. But they can also slow down, as we've seen with the whole pandemic situation that we had. All right, let's move on to the next question from Remedios Donato. How about my petition for my kids? Was approved in 2017. They're more than 21 years of age. I am now an American citizen. Okay, Remedios. So if they're over 21, it means, and you're an American citizen, it means they are in F1, first priority category. So we know that their petition was approved in 2017. So that's good. I'm assuming it was approved by USCIS. So it was most likely already transferred to the NVC. But you let me know, please, if you can, with a follow-up comment. Just don't respond to my comment within your comment. Please submit a separate comment, because when you respond to my comment within your comment, I don't get notifications for it. And I might be able to give you a little bit more information, but we will take a look again at dates of filing, F1, and we know that your petition has been approved in 2017. So I'm assuming it was accepted a little bit earlier than that, unless it's documentarily qualified petition. But as we can see, even from initial dates for filing, the visas, the immigrant visas, are becoming available for people that have filed back in January 2017. And it was already approved in 2017 for you. So that means that the immigrant visa for your kids should already be available, or if it's not available yet, it should be somewhere right around the corner. If you are documentarily qualified, I highly recommend submitting expedited request with the NVC. I have a video on this channel that explains how to do that. It's a very simple process. You just send an email. But judging by the visa bulletin, the immigrant visa should already be available. So if you are already documentarily qualified, I would recommend submitting that expedited request. But it should be somewhere right around the corner. All right, moving further to the next question from Felly James. My case is documentarily qualified 1932. 1932. I'm trying to think what 1932 represents here. And I'm waiting for interview appointment. My visa is IR, so your immediate relative, 5. Okay, applied last March 2022, sir. Any update, sir, from Philippines? Okay, so Philippines, whenever it comes to IR visa, that's immediate relatives. In that particular category, there is no limitation. There is no visa cap for that particular category, right? So once you are documentarily qualified, that's it. The immigrant visa is already available. The only thing that you are waiting for is the interview to be scheduled at the local US embassy. There can be a few things that kind of delaying the interview process. Well, first of all, not a lot of embassies, US embassies all around the world, they were closed for a very long time for the immigrants. They were open for certain services for US citizens, like emergency services where you have to do something, but they were closed whenever it came to non-immigrant visas and immigrant visas. So no interviews were scheduled. So now we are seeing that sort of artificial backlog, as I call it, from the US embassies as well, because they had accumulated amount of documentarily qualified cases that they have to schedule the interviews for, and now they're scheduling them. There is a little bit of delay. Usually it's pretty quick. Usually it takes about few months, between few months and 6 months, but you have been waiting already since March 2022. So you have been waiting over a year. What I would recommend you do is reach out to your local US embassy in Philippines, the US embassy that you have, and just ask them for a follow-up information. See if they have any updates for you. Don't be too upset if they don't give you any information, because it's at their discretion. They can take a look and say, oh yeah, we see your case. Yeah, we still have a delay. We still have a few months before we can schedule your interview. Or they might just say, no, we can't give you that information. So don't be too upset. Regardless of the situation, your interview should be somewhere around the corner. The only reason why it wasn't scheduled yet is, again, because we are dealing still with this backlog that accumulated during the pandemic. So hopefully that should be clearing out very soon. And again, we see with Visa Bulletin, things are starting to move along finally. So this is definitely good news for all of us. Let's move on to the next question from Kaika Robert. Hi, good day. My priority date is March 2009. How long more do you think I will have to wait? My category is F3. Kaika, thank you very much for your question. Let's take a look at the Visa Bulletin. So I don't know which chargeability area, but we will, for the purpose of this answer, we will look at all chargeability. Let's take a look. F3 category, February 2010 right now, looks like for people who filed back in February 2010, their I-130s. So let's take a look. Your date is, let's see, my priority date is March 2009. Okay, so you're already behind. You're behind what they're doing. So your immigrant visa, judging by the Visa Bulletin, should definitely be already available. The only reason why you don't have it yet is because, well, your beneficiary or you, depending whether you're a petitioner or beneficiary, is because, again, we had those backlogs associated with the pandemic. One thing I would recommend, because I am thinking, because it was way back in 2009, I'm thinking that you should already be documentarily qualified. If you're not, please correct me and provide some follow-up information if you were documentarily qualified, and when, if you already were documentarily qualified. But if you are already documentarily qualified, judging by the Visa Bulletin, your immigrant visa should already be available. So that's two necessary things that you need in order to be able to file that expedited request with the NVC. I would definitely recommend sending that email to NVC. Very polite, very professional, just providing your information, your case information, and requesting them to expedite the processing of your case. Why? Because everything should already have been, completed on your case, because your date is behind what they are processing right now. So by this information, you should have had already the immigrant visa or your beneficiary. So I'm gonna post this, and we're gonna move on to the next question. And if anyone, if you have any follow-up questions after you hear my answer, if something is not clear, don't hesitate to post another question. I don't mind the amount of the more questions you ask. I'm grateful, because it means that my answers are helpful. So all the questions are welcome. Just make sure don't respond to my comment here, because I don't get notifications for those. I can't see them. I don't know why. So just submit it as a separate comment. All right, moving further to Nicola Lynch. Hey, my priority date is October 3, 2010. F3 is my visa going to be ready soon? Yes, Nicola. So it's you see, it's the same situation as Kaika. So October 2010 priority date, and they are doing February 2010. Okay, so judging by the visa bulletin, you are like February, March, July, August, September. You're like 6 months away from the availability of that immigrant visa. So it should be anywhere around the corner. I'm assuming that you should be already documentarily qualified, because usually, especially as of recently, NVC, they basically wait closer to the availability of your immigrant visa before they allow you the full access to that NVC portal, the CAC portal. It's the same thing, we just, some people call it differently, where you submit all that stuff. So you should have already had that. If not, I definitely recommend reaching out to the NVC and seeing, what's going on, because I'm assuming by this point you should have had already approval from USCIS. But again, if I'm wrong, just please follow up with some additional information, and I might be able to give you just a little bit, still very rough estimates, again, because things might speed up, things might slow down, but a little bit more detailed answer. Okay, let's move on to the next one. From Seema Regmi, my priority date is 2010 June. I filed inquiry form in March 26, 2023. I'm waiting for result. When did they respond? Please let me know what is next and how many time they take. Okay, Seema, so I don't see your preference category. Since your priority date is in 2010, you can be in F2B, F2A, or F1. I'm thinking either F3 or F4 categories. And again, if you are F3, it should be around the corner, because that's looks like, judging by the most recent visa bulletin, they are getting to 2010 right now. And then if it's F4, again, for all chargeability, about 2 more years. But I'm gonna ask you where you have submitted your inquiry. Was that with USCIS, or was that a public inquiry form to the NVC? Usually both USCIS and NVC, usually it's a month and a half that they respond to you. And since you filed back in March 26, you're probably looking at about 2 more weeks, maybe possibly a month, to get that response. Don't put too much hopes into that response, however, because a lot of times they just send you boilerplate response saying that, hey, we're still working on your case is being actively reviewed, right? Stuff like this. And that's really it. And then they don't provide really any valuable information, unfortunately. With that being said, however, everyone watching, still, I do recommend filing those inquiries and not just letting the case be in the air. Why? Because it shows them that you are on top of the case, you're watching visa bulletin, you're watching the processing times, and you're paying attention. You didn't just let the case go and whatever happens, happens. And that's good. We need to be on top of that. But Seema, if you can, let me know what category we're talking about, what chargeability area, and also it would be helpful to know whether you were already documentarily qualified or not. And I will be able to give you a little bit, maybe possibly more details. All right, let's put that. Suel Ahmed says, congratulations on the new visa bulletin May 2023 video. And Suhail, I appreciate you, appreciate the your positive mindset, and indeed it's congratulations to some of the categories that actually finally seen some positive movement. If you haven't seen this video, check it out, May 2023 visa bulletin. But yes, finally we're seeing some pretty good movement on the visa bulletin. Hopefully we will continue seeing that. But again, the next couple months, it will give us a little bit more insight into what is happening, because we have not seen any movement for a very long time now on the visa bulletin, up until literally a couple days ago. All right, let's move on to the next one from Minu Pillai. Again, I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing. Have applied for I-130 spousal citizen along with I-765 employment authorization application on 7th October 2022. My OPT EAD expires in June. Please advise for my EAD. Okay, so Minu, whenever it comes to the EAD, basically the determining factor for the eligibility of the of having of being able to legally work in the United States, of having the employment authorization document, is your immigration status, and that's what determines essentially whether you are able to work in the United States or not. So if at the point of expiration, closer to the expiration, a month, 2 months, usually I recommend being on the safe side and taking 2 months before expiring document, submitting that application. Even though they promise to renew it within 30 days, still, I recommend giving a little bit more time just in case, so that you don't walk around without the employment authorization, because it is an important document. But if everything is good, you're maintaining your immigrant status, and whether it can be really anything. Whatever kind of status it is, whether it is pending asylum, granted asylum, some refugee status, temporary protected status, maybe it's some kind of immigrant visa, maybe it's non-immigrant work visa, maybe it's exchange visa. There's a lot of different categories that give you the permission to legally work in the United States. As long as you have that, really all you have to do is just go to USCIS, and I will actually show you, because it's a good opportunity for me to show the navigation on the official U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services website, uscis.gov. Always make sure you get your information from official government sources. Don't do it from third parties. We're going to go to forms, and you're probably familiar with this, so I'll just show it for everyone who's not. We go to all forms, and this is all of the USCIS forms, including the I-130 petition for alien relative, including the naturalization, including whatever it is that has to do with immigration. You can find the form here. So we're looking for 765. We can just type it up here. And that's the application for employment authorization. As you can see, you file it online. Since you already have employment authorization document, you will be filing it for the renewal of employment authorization document. And that's really it. That's really as straightforward as that. I have a video specifically on how to fill out the I-765 if you're not familiar with it, but I'm assuming that you are, because you already have one. So I'm going to post the response, and I'm going to move on to the next question from Kaukap Sohail. Is backlogs reduced and bulletin keep moving in family based from F1, 2, 3, and 4? Yes, Kaukap. So we finally saw some positive movement. On April 2023 visa bulletin, we also saw some movement, but it wasn't positive. On the F2A category, we saw that there is now, for the visa category that was always current, that we now have about 2.5 years of backlog. And while it's not a positive move, it was still very helpful, because it gives an insight for a lot of people who are waiting for interviews to see the category that was supposed to be current, that is already documentarily qualified, and they're waiting about 2.5 years for an interview. It's helpful for other categories that are documentarily qualified and whose visas were already supposed to be available, to kind of understand how long they will have to wait for their interview. Okay, so even if the movement wasn't positive, it's still overall a good update, so that we can look at it and kind of understand it better. But as of May 2023, we have seen some movement on some of the categories that have been standing still for a very, very long time. Like, for example, force priority category. I discussed the comparison between the April and May in this video that you commented on. But yes, we definitely seen some reduced backlogs for sure. Some of the categories had reduced backlog by as much as 6 months. However, with that being said, for everyone who's watching, it does not mean that we will keep seeing 6 months at a time being reduced, okay? This 6 months reduction, it might be the result of the past 6 months, a year, for however long we were, getting back on the normal track after the closures during the pandemic. So we might see, again, things slow down and just move 1 month at a time, which is completely fine. As long as we see some movement, that is good. Better than no movement at all. But yes, as of May 2023, we definitely did see some significant reduction of backlog. 6 months in some categories, 2 months in other categories, and some of the categories just 1 month, but still, it's a reduction and it's good. All right, we do want that. All right, let's move on to the next question from Amber's Adventures. Hello, my case has been documentarily qualified, has been completed since 2021. That's great. We keep receiving emails from NVC that wait for 60 more days for the interview. Our country of origin is Pakistan. Do you know how long it will take to get the interview for F2B for Pakistan? One case was approved in 2020 and other in April 2021. Thank you. You're very welcome. Thank you for watching. Thank you for your question. It's definitely great news that you were already documentarily qualified. I'm sorry that you're dealing with the NVC just sending you these boilerplate emails promising you 60 days. It would be nice if it was real, but a lot of times it's just boilerplate response to kind of give you an answer when it's really not an answer at all. But here's what I can tell you, and it's keep in mind, please, that it's very rough estimate. We can't for 100% sure, that this is going to be the case. But if we go to April 2023, and I'm going to actually go to April 2023, we will see that there was a movement compared to the March, and I'm actually going to start with March. And I know that you are in F2B, not F2A, but here's a good thing about the F2A, right? The F2A category, for the most part, was typically current, which means that once you're documentarily qualified, the immigrant visa is already available. So the interview is scheduled. Yes, there is some wait time, 30 days, 2 months, 3 months maybe, but that's it. The interview is scheduled. It's pretty quick because the visa is current. However, this has not been updated. This F2A specifically has not been updated since the times of pandemic, all right? And if we look at the April, this is when we finally got an update on the F2A, which used to be current and is now showing about 2.5 years in the documentarily qualified graph, which means that people that have been documentarily qualified back in September 2020 are just now getting their immigrant visas, going through their interviews. So if F2A can tell us that there is about 2.5 year wait for the interview to be scheduled, that can give us insight for other categories that have been already documentarily qualified, that are supposed to have their immigrant visas, be available for them, but they're still waiting 2.5 years roughly for their interview schedule. Again, because that artificial backlog during the pandemic. So with that being said, you have one case that was approved back in 2020. So 2020, it should be, let's see, if we have 2.5 years, we are looking somewhere, it should have been any time around the corner. The case that has been approved in 2020, we are looking literally any time around the corner for the availability of the immigrant visa. April 2021 looks like, let's see, 2.5 years plus to that. We are looking probably at about the end of 2023. So by the end of 2023 on this case, and somewhere right around the corner for this case, you should be getting your interview. Again, judging by the F2A, which there might be a little bit more for the F2B. Most likely it is, because there was backlog on the F2B. There wasn't any backlog on F2A. That's why I said it's very, very rough estimate. But at least it's a little bit of the insight, and we can make a little bit of the judgment. But I would still recommend, if you don't get anything in 60 days, contact NVC again and keep contacting them, being still polite, being still professional, but you do still want to keep reminding them that, hey guys, according to your own visa bulletin that is coming out from you, my immigrant visa should be already available for my beneficiary or for me if you're the beneficiary, right? So why is my interview not scheduled yet? Polite, professional, but nevertheless, because you're going from their source, you're not making anything up. So keep emailing them, and hopefully around the corner. Once you get it, please, and it goes for everyone who's watching these videos. Once you do get your interviews, once you do become documentarily qualified, once there is any kind of movement, I know I personally would appreciate it, and I know a lot of people who are watching these videos would appreciate it if you come back and provide an update and say, hey, I finally got my interview. I waited 2 years, or I waited a year and a half, or I waited 3 years for my interview, because that gives us hope for everyone who's waiting. It gives us a good update, good estimation, and hope. It's always better to see other people finally move, and instead of just everybody basically waiting and waiting and waiting. And some hope is good always. All right, let's move on to the next one from Orville Gordon. My priority date is in 2014, and I was documentarily qualified in March 2021. How much longer do I have to wait for the interview? Category F1. Alrighty, so F1 is unmarried sons and daughters over 21 of US citizens. Let's take a look. Priority date 2014. Let's see. Wow, okay, so December 2014. It's December, and you are already... priority date is 2014. Okay, I don't know where, but documentarily qualified March 2021. Let's actually take a look at the documentarily qualified. This is documentarily qualified. Never mind. This is the priority date, and this is documentarily qualified. So your immigrant visa should, unless you're from Mexico or possibly Philippines, unless you're from these two chargeability areas, then you might have a little bit more weight, but you don't say. So I'm assuming you're in all chargeability area. And if you're in all chargeability area, your immigrant visa should already be available. So the only thing that you're dealing with, because you're already documentarily qualified back in 2021, again, you're dealing with the same interview backlog from the pandemic times, all right? We know for F2A, it's 2.5 years. You have been waiting already for pretty much exactly 2 years. So by the end of 2023, you're definitely going to have your interview according to what we have right now. Again, things might speed up. I don't think they will slow down. Personally, please don't take these words for a fact. This is just my personal thinking. They shouldn't slow down unless, again, there is some kind of crazy situation and they decide to close everything. Hopefully it's not going to happen. But I think from now on, things should be speeding up now. So it's around the corner, Orville. Again, let us know when you have that interview finally scheduled, because that would be, I know a lot of people, I know personally I will appreciate that, and I'm sure a lot of people who are watching these videos will appreciate that as well. All right, next question from Sophia Johnson. My priority date is June 2015 and F1 category. Okay, so June 2015 F1 category. We'll look at the all chargeability areas. Let's see priority date. Yes, priority date is August 2016. So your immigrant visa should be available. I'm thinking probably you should be already documentarily qualified. Again, correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm thinking you already should be documentarily qualified. And if you are already documentarily qualified, then we are probably looking at, well, it depends on when you got documentarily qualified. I'm thinking you probably got documentarily qualified around 2021, 2022, okay? But if you can provide some additional information, some updates, I would be able to give you a little bit more information. All right, let's move on probably to our last comment for today from Keith Azadi, kind of long one, so that's good. That's the last comment for today. I'll keep addressing the rest of the comments in the further volumes. I'll try to make sure that all the questions are answered, but I'm sorry if I'm taking longer than to other people to get to your comment. I'm really sorry about that. I do get a lot of comments, but I'll try to address all of them. All right, from Keith. First category of F3 in final action has not moved forward since Biden administration came to White House. Biden administration and USCIS abandoned family-based categories, visas, green cards, and visa bulletin, visa interview appointment, and NVC. They do not care and ignored family-based categories, visas, green cards because of illegal undocumented immigrants who came from walls, borders, back doors illegally. Shame on Biden administration, shame on USCIS who abandoned family-based legal immigration, who are waiting for many, many years to enter to the US legally with respect to immigration laws and from front doors. Stop immigration discrimination. Keith, your words are, they're spot on, and it's not just Biden administration. It really is in general. Whenever it comes to Congress in general, whenever it comes to politics, a lot of people don't realize that for politicians, whenever they make, whoever it is, Biden administration, Democrat, Republican, it really doesn't matter. Whenever they make the decisions on any kind of policy, really any kind of policy, but today we're specifically talking about immigration. They are doing these policies in mind with their own careers. That is the most important thing to them. They want to maintain their careers. They want to be re-elected. They want to gain popularity. It's all about the popular. It's about votes for them. It's about votes. So most of the times we have these politicians, most of the times they're not familiar with the field of immigration at all. All right. Most of the people are not familiar with the field of immigration because they look at the news, they look at the news articles, some kind of forums, some kind of whatever, CNN, MSNBC, Fox News, whatever, whoever tells them something about, sometimes a little bit about immigration, sometimes a little bit about other things, and we shape our perception based on that little information. And sometimes we do get people in politics who are immigrants themselves, who have been through the process, who understand the process very well. But because the whole nature of the world of the flesh that we create, the system that we build, that we create, is by definition is designed with the corruption already present. Why? Because we have created, and we do have the corrupt nature within us. All right, that's why we do need God in order to stay righteous, in order to live the righteous life and choose the right thing or the wrong thing. All right, but because we get involved, the more we get involved into this world of the flesh and politics and the whole field of immigration is the system that we ourselves have created. Even the people that have experience, that have the knowledge, become corrupted. Why? Because now they start caring about their careers, about wealth, about votes, about all of these rewards from the materialistic world of flesh, and we forget the things that actually matter, the values, the valuable things that we're supposed to value, right? Like, for example, family, and yeah, Keith, he said it's spot on. Why do we see this unfair discrimination, this system that discriminates against, you would think, right? When a U.S. citizen naturalized, look, if you are a U.S. citizen and you're petitioning for someone from across the globe, it doesn't matter, from over the border, from Mexico, it means that you yourself, most likely a naturalized U.S. citizen. Or if you're a permanent resident, it means that you became a permanent resident somehow through the process, right? You went through the interviews, you went through the background checks, you went through the medical examinations, you went through the court dates, you paid the fees. You did everything the way the system was designed to make you do. You followed the system, and yet you are treated unfairly. Why? So, with that, all of that being said, that's one of the reasons why I started this channel and I have this channel going is because, first of all, yes, I'm an immigrant myself, and I went through all of this, everything all of the things that I answered on this channel, 99% of it I went through it myself, and I'm familiar with it personally. And right now I have a immigration petition for immediate and the whole idea is like, what is immediate relative, right? Why is my brother not immediate relative? That makes no sense. He's my immediate relative. So why cannot I see him? Why do I have to wait 16 years in order to have him here with me? I went for 15 years, I went through the process. Why do I have to wait another 16 years to see my brother? It's unfair. But nevertheless, we can become victims of the system, or we can look at the system and extract lesson from the system and realize that, without the guide that we have, right, the spirit within us, without God, we will fall victims of the system, and we will, blame everybody around us and try to find excuses and just be really miserable, purposeless, or we can extract our lessons and we can help each other and we can maintain our righteousness and do the right thing in spite of everything that is wrong with the system, with the world of the flesh, with all of the things that are around us. So with that being said, thank you everyone for tuning in. Always appreciate your time. If you have any follow-up questions, do not hesitate to ask them in the comments below. Like I said, it's a blessing for me to be able to, if my answer is helpful, it's a blessing. That's really all I I couldn't have asked for more. So I appreciate your time. God bless you all, and I'll see you in the next video.